So guys, in this lecture, we are going to see metals and non-metals concepts. This is your third chapter in your NCERT textbook, and same chapter you can find in state boards also. Same CBSE and state. In these two boards, this chapter is important. And this chapter actually you have got in your sixth class, at the same time eighth class. So what are the concepts you have learned in sixth and eighth? Same concepts will be repeated, and a few extra concepts will be there. And here in this 10th class, if you observe, in 10th, metals or non-metals, you will get concept regarding extraction of metals. Extraction of metals. So there we will learn about how many types of metals will be present, three types of metal, and how they will be extracting that one, high activity series, low activity series, medium activity series, that and all. But in 2020 academic calendar, if you observe, in 2020 academic calendar, because of this corona effect, what they did, they have removed this concept. So those guys who are writing examination in 2021 March, for them there will be no concepts regarding extraction of metal, high reactivity, low reactivity, thermic reactions, that and all you will get. So those concepts will not be there, but I'll try to explain those concepts also. It will be useful for you, and which you can gain, from where you can gain some knowledge. And I'm talking about 2021 March of CBSE, and I don't have any idea regarding state boards. Fine, let us start. Before starting this metals and non-metals chapter, first here you see elements can be classified as metals, non-metals, at the same time metalloids, and we know what is meant by metal, what is meant by non-metal, and how it can be classified in because basis of their properties. What type of properties? There will be two types of properties: physical property, at the same time chemical property. Now let us concentrate on physical property. After learning physical property, we can go and learn chemical property. Here you see few examples: aluminium, iron Fe, aluminium Al, silver Ag, copper Cu. These all are classified as metals. And while coming to non-metals, hydrogen is a gas, nitrogen is a gas, sulfur gas, oxygen gas, all these are non-metals. How that can be divided is, first I told physical properties. What is meant by physical property? Property by which you can use your sense to determine the substance. So we have sense of vision, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of hearing, and sense of touch, five senses. By using all these senses, we can differentiate between metals and non-metals. Same concept you have got in your 8th class also. Let us revise that. First one, lustrous. What is meant by luster? Property of shine. Here you see metals will have shining surfaces, but there are few metals which they don't have shining surfaces. That also we'll see here. And while coming to non-metal, they do not have shining surface, and only non-metal which will shine is iodine. These exemptions also you have to remember, which will be useful for your examination. Second property, hardness. Hardness is nothing but strong. Basically metals will be generally strong and hard. Here there are some exemptions: sodium, lithium, potassium. Sodium Na, lithium Li, potassium K. These metals are not that much hard. They are soft and that can be cut with knife. So they will ask you which metals you can cut with knife, which metals will be not hard. Thus you can answer. While coming to non-metals, non-metals are generally soft except diamond, and diamond is a form of carbon which is hardest natural substance. So it is not possible for us to cut the diamond. But if you take whatever it may be, the non-metal like paper, wood, whatever it may be, easily you can cut. You can apply some force on that to separate it, to break it. Next, state. We have three states. Of course, we have six states, but in ninth class, you have learned to solids, liquids, gases, isn't it? And we have, of course, a plasma, a fermionic condensate, like that. You see, maximum solids, maximum metals will be in solids. But there is one exemption, that is mercury. Mercury will be liquid state. Symbol Hg is symbol for mercury, which will be in liquid state. While coming to non-metals, non-metals you can find in solids, at the same time gaseous also, and liquid in the sense you see petrol, kerosene, those crude oil, of course that is a hydrocarbon compound. Water is a non-metal that you can find in liquid state also, and except bromine. Bromine is the non-metal which you can find in liquid state at room temperature. This point is important. They have asked twice in your examination, which non-metal will be in liquid state. And while coming to malleability, malleability means making into sheets, property to make metals into sheets. Metals can be beaten into thin sheets. Gold, silver are most malleable metal. In your ninth class, if you remember, while doing Rutherford experiment, while learning that one, we have learned about alpha ray scattering experiment and gold foil. Why he has chosen gold foil? Because gold is the most malleable and most ductile metal. And non-metals are non-malleable. We cannot make it into sheets. Of course, we can make it into sheets, but easily we can break it, isn't it? We can tear, we can break that non-metal. And ductility. Ductility is nothing but property of metals making into wires. Metals can be drawn into wire. So gold, we can learn that. What if you take 1 gram of gold, you can convert that gold into 2 kilometer long wire, isn't it? 2 kilometer long wire, that much ductile is the gold. And while coming to non-metals, non-metals are not ductile. We cannot make it into wires. Of course, if you make it into wire, you can break it, you can cut it, you can, right? It will not be that much strong. Next, conductors of heat and electricity. Of course, metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. You see, silver, copper are best conductors of heat. Lead, and here these are exemption. You see, lead, mercury are poor conductors of heat. But you may get doubt, if a mercury is poor conductor of heat, then why they are using in thermometers, right? Here basically mercury cannot conduct heat energy from one point to another point. Basically, what is conductivity? If you take, this is a metal rod. If you heat this metal at one point, automatically that heat can be transferred to another point, another end of the same material, which you have learned in 7th class regarding conduction, convection and radiation, if you remember. So what is the difference? Conduction means transferring of heat energy from one point to another point in the same body. Convection means transfer of heat energy from one body to another body. Radiation, transferring of heat energy from one place to another place. From sun to earth, it is radiation. And from one body to another body, it is convection. In the same body, example, you can take your dosa pan. If your mom is doing some dosa, here the dosa pan will be in circular shape or something, sometimes rectangular shape, and there will be burner in the middle, isn't it? From here we will get heat energy, but that heat energy is transferred to every corner of the pan. That is conduction. So it will be moving from one point to another point. While coming to mercury, mercury will not carry heat energy from one point to another point. Instead, it will work on principle that metals expand on heating. If you heat metal, it will expand, which already have learned in 6th, 7th, 8th standards. And metals are very good conductors of heat, at the same time electricity. While coming to electricity and heat, silver, copper are best. And while coming to lead, Pb, plumbum, mercury, Hg, hydrohalgerum. So these are poor conductors of heat. From this also there are chances of asking questions. And while coming to non-metals, non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity. There will be no good conductor of electricity. There is no good conductor of heat, but one exemption is there, that is graphite. Graphite is good conductor of electricity. And sometimes you can say diamond. Diamond is good conductor of heat. These 2 points you have to remember. Next, density. Yes, generally metals will have high density. Density in 9th you have learned. Density is nothing but mass by volume. Simply to say, if you take metal and if you throw it in water, automatically all metals will be settling down because of high density, except sodium and potassium. These will not settle at the bottom. Instead, it will react very vigorously with water. And non-metals have low density. Because of low density, what will happen? It will be floating on water. Sonorous. Sonorous means sound. If you strike metal with any hard surface, automatically it will produce sound. But while coming to non-metals, it will not produce sound. But you may ask doubt, if you hit any pad, if you hit any drum. So drums are not metals, but if you hit it, you will get sound. But here we are not talking about sound. We are talking about metallic sound. Okay, if you ring a bell, what is the sound of the bell? So that sound will not be produced by non-metals. That is the thing. And oxides, we know when metals are reacting with oxygen, it will form metal oxides. Metal oxides are basic in nature. And while coming to non-metals, non-metals also will react with oxygen to form non-metal oxide, which is acidic in nature. So these are physical properties of metals and non-metals, and we can expect 1 or 1.5 mark from physical properties. I don't know what happened. Am I audible? Now moving to chemical properties. Here in acids and bases, how we have learned chemical properties, same thing we will be learning in metals or non-metals also. But here, those reactants will change. So how it will change and what reactants will change, we'll see. First, well, coming to chemical properties of metals, we learn metals reacting with few reactants. We'll see what are those reactants. So first, reaction with air. Reaction with air, in the sense, mainly we'll consider oxygen. You can say reaction with air, or you can say reaction with oxygen. You see, when metal is reacting with oxygen, we'll get metal oxide. Example, copper plus oxygen, copper oxide. Aluminum plus oxygen, aluminum oxide. Magnesium plus oxygen, magnesium oxide. And while coming to here, metallic oxides or metal oxides are basic in nature. And we can learn another thing, that is amphoteric oxides, that I'll say you. Before that, guys, if you have any confusion regarding writing chemical formulas, you can use crisscross method. You see, aluminum oxide, it may be somewhat quite not possible for you to remember, but you see aluminum Al oxygen O, and write it twice, aluminum Al oxygen O. Now while coming to aluminum, sodium magnesium aluminum, 13 is the atomic number. While coming to valency, it is 3. Oxygen atomic number is 8 and valency is 2, and the 2 goes to aluminum, 3 goes to oxygen, and we will get Al2O3, isn't it? So like that, you have to write chemical formula Al2O3 for aluminum oxide. While coming to magnesium oxide, you see magnesium Mg oxygen O and magnesium Mg oxygen O. Magnesium atomic number 12, valency is 2. Oxygen atomic number is 8 and valency is 2. 2 goes to magnesium, 2 goes to oxygen. And you should not write like Mg 2O2. So instead of that, because of this 2, there are two 2's. What you can do, you can take 2 here and you can write MgO, or simply to say no need to write this 2 MgO, because oxygen is always trying to gain electrons, magnesium will be always trying to lose electrons, and the 2 will be going to here, that's it. Okay, so no need to mention this, but while you're writing equations in your board examination, please try to balance it. Next, different metals will show different reactivity towards oxygen. Here, all metals will not show same reaction, will not get same reaction with oxygen. Different metals will have different rate of reactions. Here you see sodium and potassium, Na and K, react so vigorously and it will catch fire if it is kept open. So they are immersed in kerosene. Whenever sodium and potassium is added to water, automatically they will catch fire. Not only water, if they kept it open, if it is mixing with oxygen, if it is combining with oxygen, it will catch fire. So that they will immerse that sodium, potassium, lithium in kerosene. Kerosene is a crude oil compound, or you can say it is hydrocarbon compound, where there will be no oxygen. That's it. Next, surface of magnesium, aluminum, zinc, lead are covered with a thin layer of oxide, which prevents them from further oxidation. This is known as self-protecting metals. Here you see what will happen if you see the first question in your first chapter, chemical reactions and equations. Why it is advised for you to rub the magnesium ribbon by using sandpaper? Because when magnesium ribbon is kept open, it will be reacting with oxygen and it will form one black layer on the magnesium, and that formation of layer is good only, and here layer is formed and it will prevent rusting, further oxidation, and inside this metal it will be good, there will be no oxidation, no rusting. So these metals are known as self-protecting metals. Iron doesn't burn on heating, but iron fillings burn vigorously. So iron, if you directly heat a burn with oxygen, it will not burn, right? But iron fillings will burn vigorously. Keep this point in your mind. Copper doesn't burn but coated with black copper oxide. So when copper is reacted with water, oxygen, here you see the first equation. When Cu plus oxygen, it will form CuO, that is copper oxide, which will be in black. That is black layer is formed, but it is not burnt. Copper is not burnt. And gold silver, you see au for aurum gold, ag for argentum silver, doesn't react with oxygen. There will be no reaction, so that only it can be used as jewelry item, and there will be no corrosion for 1 or 2 months. After that, there will be black layer formed because of that gold silver will be mixing with oxygen, water, everything. So that again, what you can do, you can rub that one with few chemicals or some detergents to remove the black layer. And I told you here, metallic oxides are basic in nature. But while coming to few metal oxides, which will show basic at the same time acidic. You see, consider this aluminum oxide. It will show basic property at the same time acidic property. Because of that, we can name that one as amphoteric oxides. So if they ask you in examination, what is meant by amphoteric? Metal oxides which react with both acids as well as base. Why it will react with acid? If it is base, it will react with acid to form salt and water. If it is acid, then it will react with the base. If it is acidic nature, it will react with the base to form salt plus water. So few metal oxides will show basic and acidic property. Example, aluminum oxide, zinc oxide, etc. And you see these two equations, in that this equation is so important. If you remember, in second chapter I told you a reaction with the bases. Basically, there will be no much reaction with the bases, but you can observe here NaOH, if it is reacting with aluminum oxide, we have a new compound known as NaAlO2, known as aluminum sodium aluminate. If you remember, zinc plus NaOH in second chapter, you will get Na2ZnO2 sodium zincate, and this is sodium aluminate. So these are the two different compounds which you will get in 10th class, so that you have to remember this equation at the same time this equation. There are chances of asking in your examination. So that's it about metal reacting with oxygen. Metal plus oxygen gives us to metal oxide. Metal oxides are basic in nature. Few metal oxides will have acidic nature also. Those are known as amphoteric oxides. Example, aluminum oxide and zinc oxide. And here different rates will be there. You have to remember these 4 points. Next, reaction of metal with water. Here you see, when metal is reacting with water, we will get metal oxide plus hydrogen. So metal plus water, we will get metal oxide plus hydrogen gas, which is evolved. Here, few things you have to remember. Not only metal oxides, it will produce metal hydroxide also, MOH. So same, when metal is reacting with water, it may produce metal oxide, it may produce metal hydroxide. In which case it will produce metal oxide, in which case it will produce metal hydroxide means, we know metals are 3 types, 3 categories. First one, low reactive metals. Second one, moderate or medium reactive. Last one, very high reactive. Depending on these, we can say which one will form metal hydroxide and which one will form metal oxides. If metals are moderate reactive, or first we will take metals of high reactive. So high reactive metals, when it is combining with water, it will form metal hydroxide. Example, sodium, calcium, magnesium, or high reactive metals. High reactive. So potassium also. Sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, etc. And while coming to moderate reactive metals, if it is combining with water, it will form metal oxides. That's it. Example, aluminum, iron, zinc, copper, etc. Right? And least reactive, it will not react with water, like gold, silver, etc. Platinum, copper, of course this copper also, it is low reactive, it will not react with water. That's it, you have to remember. High reactive and moderate reactive. High reactive will form metal hydroxide, moderate reactive will form metal oxides. Here you can see sodium plus water gives rise to sodium hydroxide, calcium plus water, calcium hydroxide, magnesium plus water, magnesium hydroxide, but aluminum plus water, aluminum oxide, iron plus water, iron oxide. And here it will not have same reaction, it will change. First you see this one, sodium, potassium, calcium will react with cold water. It will not react with hot water or steam. While coming to this, react with hot water, which one? Magnesium. So magnesium will not react with cool water and either steam. While coming to this, calcium, magnesium float as bubbles of H2 stick out to their surface, means if you take a beaker and if you add some amount of water in it, take one small piece of magnesium and drop it. First that magnesium will go to bottom because it is a metal, there will be some density, and while it is reacting with water, it will form hydrogen gas also, right? That hydrogen gas will stick at the bottom surface of the metal and automatically that gas will lift the metal up, and you can find that metal will float on surface because at the bottom there will be oxygen bubbles, sorry, hydrogen bubbles. That is the concept. So this one you have to remember. Next, while coming to this, no reaction with water, which one? Lead, copper, Au, Ag, gold and silver, because those are noble metals. That's what I told here, low reactive, no reaction. And you see this, react with steam, aluminum, iron, zinc, it will not react with cold water, it will not react with hot water, but it reacts with steam. So that is a concept we have to understand. The next, reaction of metals with acid, which already have learned in third chapter, that is metal plus acid gives rise to salt plus hydrogen gas, whatever it may be the acid. So you see iron hydrochloric acid, iron chloride, or ferric chloride, hydrogen gas. Magnesium hydrochloric acid, magnesium chloride. Zinc plus hydrochloric acid, zinc chloride. Aluminum plus hydrochloric acid, aluminum chloride. If it is sulfuric acid, iron plus sulfuric acid, iron sulfate. Magnesium plus sulfuric acid, magnesium sulfate, etc. like that. Next, reaction of metal solution with metal salts. So here you take metal A, means some metal, if it is reacting with a salt solution B, what will happen? There will be displacement reaction. So from salt solution B, metal will be extracted and this metal will combine with this salt. For example, you take iron is a metal, copper sulfate is a salt. From copper sulfate we have copper metal, isn't it? Now if there is reaction happening, automatically iron will combine with this sulfate, copper will be displaced out and we will get copper separately, and there will be iron sulfate salt settled in the test tube. That is a concept we have to understand. It is single displacement reaction. Now moving to activity series. So what is that activity series? So in this series we will learn which metals are high reactive, which metals are least reactive, which metals are moderate reactive. So this is the order where metals are arranged according to their decreasing order. So what are the metals you can find at the top will have high reactive. So which are settled in the middle will have moderate reactive, which are settled at the bottom will have least reactive. And here we have to remember all these elements. And how can we remember? I told you one sentence already. You can say like, please stop calling me a cute zebra. I I like her calling me. I like her calling me something I told. Smart guy, right? Smart guy. So if you see, so while coming to please, it is potassium K, stop means sodium Na, calling calcium Ca, me it is magnesium Mg, aluminum Al, cute copper Cu, zebra not Cu, it is cadmium, isn't it? Cadmium or carbon we will get here. Zebra it is Zn, I for iron it is Fe, L for lead I guess plumbum, Pb lead, her it is hydrogen, calling it is a copper, me that is mercury that is Hg, smart silver it is Ag, guy it is gold it is Au. So if you see, first one is sodium, second one sorry potassium sodium, calcium magnesium, aluminum carbon zinc, aluminum carbon zinc, iron lead hydrogen, copper mercury, silver gold. So like that you have to remember this. Next, reaction of metal with non-metal. So here metals or non-metals, will it react with each other? Means yes, it will react with each other, and from here we will get a perfect definition for metal. Metal is nothing but it is electropositive in nature. Electropositive, what is meant by electropositive, guys? It is nothing but losing of electrons. Losing of electron. You see example sodium. Sodium atomic number is 11. So 11 electrons, 11 protons will be present. And okay, no need to take consider neutron, because anyhow its charge is neutral. Now 11 is not stable. What it will do? It will lose one electron to become 10. 10 is stable. I think so. I might have learned stability elements, that is 2, 10, 18, 36, etc. 2 is helium, 10 is neon, 18 argon, krypton, right? So always elements will be trying to get electronic configuration of stability elements. So sodium is 11, 11 is not stable, 10 is nearest to stability element, it will lose one electron. So by losing one electron, what will happen in the sense? Just I keep charging from a laptop. So after losing electron, it will become 10. Losing electron in the sense electron count will become 10, but proton count it will be 11 only. So 11 positives and 10 negatives. 11 minus 10 is equal to plus 1 only. So it is electropositive in nature. But while coming to chlorine, chlorine's atomic number is 17. 17 means 17 electrons and 17 protons. 17 is not stable. Nearest stability element is 18. So 17 always it will be trying to get one electron. So that the chlorine will get one electron from the sodium and count will be 18 electrons, but there is no change in proton. It is 17 only. So minus 18 plus 17 is equal to minus 1, isn't it? So non-metals are electronegative in nature. Non-metals are electronegative. That is a concept you have to understand from that. So metals always it will be losing electron, non-metals always it will be gaining electron. But that is regarding the periodic table. If you observe that first group, second group, third group, it will be from fourth, fifth, sixth groups, what it will do? It will share electrons, that's it. Okay, that you can learn in carbon compounds chapter. And here we have to learn about ionic bond. What is meant by ionic bond? Bond which is formed by transfer of electrons. By transfer of electrons. So here I told you it is sodium. Sodium will have one extra electron. So sodium atomic number 11. If you write electronic configuration, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. So this you can write it as 2, 8, 1. This way of representing is correct. This way is also correct. Okay, 281. So what is the outermost electron? This is 1. So that we will represent Na with 1 electron. Not only dot, you can keep one cross also. Both are correct. Well, coming to chlorine, chlorine atomic number is 17. If you write electronic configuration, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5. This you can write it as 2, 6 plus 2, 8, 5 plus 2, 7. So 8 plus 2, 10 plus 7, 17. What is the outermost orbit or outermost electrons? 7 are outermost electrons. So how to represent chlorine with 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's what here you can see. 7 cross will be there. Now sodium, it is a metal, always it will be losing electron. Chlorine, non-metal, always it will be gaining electron. That electron is transferred here. So what happened? Na has become Na plus by losing electron. Chlorine has become Cl minus by gaining electron, right? So we can write it as Na plus plus Cl minus gives rise to NaCl compound or NaCl molecule. That's it. So if they ask you to draw for a magnesium chloride, what can you do? Magnesium, its atomic number is 12 and outermost electrons will be 2. First electron, second electron. MgCl2. If they ask you to draw structure, MgCl2. How to draw? Mg, there should be two Cls. Here one Cl, here you can draw another Cl, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One electron is given to one Cl, another electron is given to another Cl, such that Mg will lose 2 electrons and it will become Mg2 plus. This chlorine will gain 1 electron, this chlorine will gain 1 electron, Mg2 plus plus 2 Cl minus, because you should not write Cl2 minus. Cl2 minus means it is gaining 2 electrons. Here 2 chlorines are gaining 1 electron each. That is the meaning for that. Don't get confused. Here I will write once again. You see, Mg2 plus, only 1 Mg. I didn't represent any number here. Mg2 plus in the sense one magnesium is losing 2 electrons plus chlorine is gaining 1 electron. How many chlorines? 2 chlorines. 2 chlorines are gaining 1 electron each. It will give rise to MgCl2 like that. And there are properties of ionic compound. What are that? Physical nature. If you see ionic compounds, what is my ionic compound? Compound which is formed by transfer of electron. You see the compound formed by transfer of electron from metal to non-metal, known as ionic compound. Simply to say, all salts are ionic compounds. Salts are formed by transfer of electrons only. And physical nature, to see salt, how it will be? Solid, hard, generally brittle. So it will be hard and it will be a solid. All salt crystals will be solid. Melting and boiling points, they have high melting point and high boiling point. You can say, sir, but if you take salt, if you take some salt and if you add it to water, easily it will melt, right? You see guys, that is not melting, that is dissolving. Easily it will be dissolved, easily it can be soluble. But melting, take one pan, add 1 or 2 spoons of salt, try to heat that pan. Will it melt? Will it leave any water? Will it leave any residue? No. So it should get more heat to melt, more heat to boil. So it will have more high melting point and high boiling point. But while coming to solubility, now solubility is nothing but dissolving. Generally soluble in water and insoluble in solvents such as kerosene and petrol, because these are hydrocarbon compounds. It will not be soluble. Conduction of electricity. Ionic compounds conduct electricity in molten state. Molten state means that should be added to water in liquid. So in 8th class, you might have learned chemical effects of electric current. If you remember the chapter, you take a beaker, add some amount of water to it, and if you insert 2 electrodes and if you connect it to battery and a bulb, it will not glow if you take distilled water. And if you add 1 pinch of salt in that, automatically it will conduct some electricity. Why? Because salt will have ions. Ions are responsible for electricity. And this topic is removed for the year 2021. So we can stop up to here. Occurrence of metals.